What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the overall market moving forward as we have more data coming out for tomorrow. Not to mention important news about Tesla, what you should be watching for on the share price as we continue into tomorrow. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 of them in total, not to mention level 2 data. Plus, you're going to have $0 commission trading. This offer ends in just 3 weeks. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's break down what's happened to Tesla. As you guys can see, Tesla has a very, very parabolic uptrend that is continuing. This is a nice short squeeze, and we're continuing to see Tesla making higher highs and higher lows. But the question is, what's going to happen at the psychological 265 area? We called this level out in the morning. That's where Tesla ended up running to. And what on earth is going to happen with all the data coming out for tomorrow? I want to give you guys some information about this. So just know Jerome Powell was giving a speech today, and the market just traded sideways, right? It was very, very sideways. When Jerome Powell finished, the market kind of pumped a bit, then started dumping towards the end of the day, and we still got a decent close. But Tesla heavily outperformed the market. It's still showing a lot of strength. So what's happening tomorrow? What data is coming out with Jerome Powell's speech again? Let me just break all of this down. So for today, he actually gave us some hints about tomorrow that are very important. To be frank, Powell did not really say much. The guy was just constantly saying the same things again and again and again. He said that they don't want to hold interest rates too high for too long because that could hurt economic growth, but simultaneously reducing policy restraints too late is also not the best thing that could happen, whereas too early is also going to weaken economic activity and employment. So it kind of goes both ways. They don't want to just cut rates too quickly. They also don't want to hold rates for way too long at these high levels. So the Fed is just kind of deciding what they have to be doing next. Now, right now, the market was actually just kind of shopping a lot because Jerome Powell himself said that he's not going to really comment too much on future monetary policy, and he continued to give the same kind of answers about how the Fed has the same targets. They have to continue to monitor the situation. He tried to avoid politics and saying anything too contentious. So Jerome Powell was just trying to be very closed. He was very contained today, very calm, and that's why the market didn't really make much of a move. That's why the market was kind of trading sideways in the first couple of hours of the day. Had Jerome Powell said something very, very crazy, if he said something very outlandish, like if he said something like, inflation is they're not making enough progress just yet, hypothetically, the market could have dumped, right? Or if he said that there's a great chance the Fed will cut eventually this year, if he made some kind of claim like that, the market could have ran. Instead, he did nothing like that. He didn't cause any major moves. He was just very careful with his words, and that's why the market was just kind of trading sideways so far. Just to clarify, there's no confirmation the Fed's going to cut as of right now. We don't know exactly when they will. The market believes it's going to happen towards the end of the year, but the Fed is just waiting on data. That's all that Jerome Powell essentially said. So why am I calling all of this out? The answer is because tomorrow, it's going to be Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. Okay, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jerome Powell is giving another speech. The guy's going to be opening his mouth again. And we're going to most likely see him say the same things as yesterday. Well, yesterday would be basically today. So basically, he's going to say the same things again, most likely. He's going to most likely just continue to say the same things he's been saying about how the Fed has the same targets. They have to monitor the situation. So the market's going to be very choppy, most likely tomorrow morning. I think that's what's going to most likely happen, and it's going to affect Tesla to some extent. And then later on during the day, we just have a couple of bill auctions at 11:30. Not to mention Bowman from the Fed giving a speech and other Fed speakers at 2:30. But nothing too crazy should be happening. I think tomorrow we're going to see a lot of consolidation, maybe a small dip in the markets, but nothing too crazy. And then the real move is going to come towards the end of the day tomorrow, and also because of CPI, which is coming out for Thursday, not to mention PPI on Friday. So we'll just have to see what all this leads to. As of right now, Jerome Powell might not cause anything too crazy. For other pieces of data, I just wanted to mention that for earnings, we also have important earnings coming out soon. So for Tuesday, which is today, nothing really significant came out. Wednesday, we just have Manchester United, not to mention WD-40, very, very minor stuff. But then for Friday, it's going to be very important. We have JP Morgan Chase, we have Wells Fargo, and Citigroup all announcing their earnings before the market opens. Friday is going to be a big day for finance and the overall sector, not to mention the big banks. That's going to be very important. Now, when it comes to other things, the fear and greed index is currently neutral. I think we're going to remain neutral tomorrow for the overall sentiment until we get the CPI report. Either the market's going to turn more greedy or more fearful. We will just have to wait and see what the big move happens to be. Momentum is still extremely greedy because we're on a very, very nice looking uptrend. So if you look at SPY or even ES, for example, the uptrend is still intact. Even if we do dip just a little bit, right? There have been periods where this kind of like dipped just a bit before it continued higher. The uptrend is still there. There's no sign of this breaking whatsoever. The market still remains bullish for the time being, even if we do dip a little bit, right? That's what that's essentially telling us so far. That's why we're still above our 125 daily moving average. So the market still has lots of momentum. So even if we do dip, there still is potential for the market to get bought back up. The puts and call option positioning for the 5-day average is still dipping, because for the last 5 days, we're seeing a lot of puts being closed, more call buying. We're still seeing a lot of buyers stepping in. They're still defending the markets. So even if we do dip a little bit, there could still be, more buyers still present. This just tells us that the buyers are still alive. They're not necessarily capitulating. They're still very, very strong. The volatility for the markets is also neutral, as the VIX is not really moving much. So that's not really causing anything too huge. Anyways, let's talk about some news about Tesla. What is going on with this? This is also going to be very important. I just want to call out that as far as news goes, there's been a lot of talk about the Model Y refresh coming. We don't know for sure if this is going to happen. There's just been one with camouflage spotted in California, which suggests that a camouflage, a new refresh is likely coming soon. We just don't know exactly when. Musk says it's not going to be coming this year, so we don't know for sure. But that's something else that's worth noting. Tesla also notched its 10th consecutive day of gains as we're continuing to see buyers stepping in. It's still getting bought up like crazy, but we're going to be approaching some tough resistance soon. I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. On top of this, we also have some news coming out that's not so great. Tesla insiders are saying that Elon has optimized the full FSD routes for himself and influencers. That's why they're arguing that the routes look very, very smooth when you look at influencers and even when Elon Musk drives an FSD. But compared to like normal people, it's not really there. So we're seeing a lot of talk about this. This is not officially confirmed. However, I can't say this for sure. Business insiders saying that that is what they believe based off conversations they had with former workers, that Tesla has been optimized and it's optimizing its self-driving neural network specifically for routes taken by Musk and Tesla influencers. Personally, guys, I can't say this is 100% true. We don't know for sure. If this were to be the case, it's obviously not great because to some extent, influencers don't really give us a good representative of FSD if that were to be happening. But I can't confirm it, so I can't say it with 100% certainty. And despite this news, though, it doesn't really change my view. It doesn't really scare me because I still believe in FSD. I still believe Tesla will have autonomous driving regardless of this. I think we're getting closer on a day-to-day basis. So I'm honestly not really worried. I'm not scared, even if this were to be the case. I still believe Tesla will develop FSD, and we're going to get more updates during the Robotaxi event, which is less than a month away. So that's going to be very, very important. That's going to be key for how we end up moving. But that's what I'm essentially predicting. That's why I think things are going to progress from here. Volume for Tesla is currently around this 160 million area. That's well above average. So we're still getting good volume. Buyers are still stepping in. Short volume is going up as we're starting to see this ratio going up. Short volume percentage is going up. And we're starting to see once again about 72 million short volume. So that's still shifting. And we're still seeing a lot of this shorting going on for Tesla, not really working as well as squeezes are still continuing. TD Cohen is giving Tesla a hold rating. Other analysts are giving them outperform/buy ratings. We're also starting to see a big shift right here. In terms of seasonality, Wednesdays tend to be green about 48% of the time. We also tend to see more seasonality on an hourly basis around 11 o'clock a.m. and also during the final hour of the day. And then also when it comes to monthly seasonality, just know that June tends to be bullish the majority of the time. July is also a decent month so far. So Tesla's off to a good start, especially approaching its earnings. So now let's just talk about the charts. What do I see for Tesla stock and the markets? What is my prediction and such? Tesla's on a very, very strong looking uptrend, and overall the technicals look bullish, but we're approaching a tough resistance, which is going to be around this, basically the 265 area. So I think tomorrow Tesla's going to pump and try to retest 265. We'll see if we break that or not. It's going to be kind of tough. If we break through this, we're going to be going all the way up towards 269. If that breaks, we're going up to 275. If we fail at 265, if we struggle to break that, then we're going to likely continue to chop between 260 and 265 like we did today. Those are the two possibilities. Either we push to 265, reject, and just continue to trade sideways like this, or we break through 265 and start pushing much higher. Those are the two most likely possibilities. That's what the chart is suggesting. But look for a big test of 265. It's going to be a tough resistance. It's not like it's easy for Tesla to break this, but that's what I find to be very probable. For ES, for those who are interested in trading futures, I want to note that the 4-hour is showing a little bit of weakness. That does suggest there might be a little bit of a dip coming, but it's not going to be anything too crazy since the overall trend is still more bullish than bearish. So from what I'm seeing on ES, I think that going into tomorrow, the most likely possibility is we're going to consolidate with Jerome Powell's testimony. We're going to see some sideways price action in the 56,300 area, or 56,000 I'm sorry, 5600 area. Excuse me, guys. I apologize about that. I think we're going to see some consolidation, and then what's going to happen is we're going to see a little bit of a dip, possibly after Jerome Powell is done, and we're going to get very close to our 200 or even our 20 EMA. So I think that we're going to be getting close to the lower 5600s for a little bit of a dip. Then we could get bought back up towards the end of the day, depending on the view on inflation. So look for some consolidation, maybe a small dip tomorrow, and then we'll see what happens with the very, very important, expectations for CPI, because sometimes right before CPI, the market gets bought back up again. We'll have to wait and see. But I think there's going to be sideways price action, a little bit of a dip, and then possibly a bounce. And we're going to just trade sideways for the most part. Nothing too crazy with Jerome Powell's speech. I think that SPY is going to follow the same trend. So we'll look at resistance at 556 and 556.6. Look at support at 555. If we lose that, I'll be looking at 554.5. I predict what's going to happen is we kind of pop a bit, then come back down, consolidate during Jerome Powell's speech, then maybe start dipping a bit towards 555. And be a little bit of a dip coming. Now, with this small little dip, okay, we'll be watching to see what happens towards the end of the day. If we get a little bounce at the end of the day, that could lead to some excitement approaching CPI. If not, we might just consolidate down below. So look for consolidation, a little bit of a dip, and then watch and see what happens at the end of the day, because we have CPI coming up for Thursday. So we'll see what kind of reaction, what kind of anticipation move we get. But look for some consolidation tomorrow with Jerome Powell speech and maybe a little bit of a dip. Now for Nvidia's looking more bullish. It's trying to break out right over here. I'm going to be watching to see if we establish a lower high or not. But this favors 135 or so. We might be retesting 135. If we reject off that, we're going to be coming back down to about 127. If we break through that, we're going to be looking for a big push. I'll be waiting to see just to be safe. For Bitcoin's on a very, very nice looking double bottom like structure. Watch 58,000's resistance. If we break this, we're going all the way up towards 60,000. If we reject here, we're going to be coming back down to 56,000. So look for a big test at 58,000 going into tomorrow. That's the most likely possibility, in my personal opinion. Now, for the QQQ, I know a lot of people are interested in this. We're showing a little bit of weakness in a way where we kind of gapped up, then kind of retraced just a little bit. I think tomorrow we're going to pump a little bit back up towards 499, reject, and then consolidate in the 498 area. I find that's to be the most likely possibility. And then there could be a little dip coming. It's still possibly dip back down to like the lower 490s, 496s, just for a little bit of time, maybe after Jerome Powell's speech. Then at the end of the day, we might get bought back up. So a very sideways day is what I'm anticipating. Look for a pop and consolidation tomorrow. A little bit dip after Jerome Powell is done, back to this support right here, which is where we got this bounce, and that 496 is only to get bought back up at the end of the day, most likely. That's what I predict is the most likely possibility. A sideways day where we don't really do anything too insane. For Apple, I'm seeing the same thing. We're looking more bullish. However, I think we're going to be testing 230 per share. This is a nice looking trend. Once we hit 230, we might see some consolidation up here between 228 and 230. So I see a little bit more upside, and consolidation is the most likely possibilities for Apple stock, in my opinion. With that being said, I'm going to go through a speed run for the rest of these for Palantir and etc. So just know, as far as Tesla goes, we are looking bullish overall. Look for a test of 265 on Tesla. Once again, if we break this, we could be squeezing all the way up to new highs, to 270, then all the way up to 275. If we fail at 265, we're going to just consolidate and range trade for some time. So keep that in the back of your mind, guys. Let's go on with the rest of these and be kind of quick. So Palantir is looking a little bit more bearish to me, technically speaking. And it favors a test of 26.9. If we bounce off that, we're going back up to 28. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping to 25.8. So look for a little bit of a dip. Watch to see if we get a bounce or not. That's going to be pivotal for how we end up moving. For Supermicro, we're turning on the 4-hour time frame. I could be looking for a little dip towards the 880 area. If we lose this, we'll be dipping back down to 873. And if we hold this, we could try to rebound. So look for a little bit of a dip, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. We could see a little dip and a bounce. I'll be waiting for that very carefully. For Rivian, we're kind of trading sideways. We are trying to push a little bit higher. I think we might be retesting these areas right here later on. The trend is more bullish. We're trying to make higher highs and higher lows. So look for a little dip right here at 15.5, then a bounce, and we might continue into the 16s just temporarily. But we'll have to see what happens, at least with some more information coming out from Jerome Powell and CPI. But it's still bullish overall. SoFi is going to likely retest 16.4. If that breaks, look for 16.5. I think it's going to go a little bit higher, and watch to see if we get a rejection or not. I'll be paying very close attention. For the IWM Rosa 2000, we're trading sideways within a range, going back and forth around 202. I think we might just continue to consolidate, not really do anything too crazy, so we'll just have to give this some time. For AMD, I think there might be a little dip coming. We called out 180. I told you to watch the reaction, and we kind of came down a bit. So I'm going to be looking for a test of 175. If we lose that, we're going down to 171. If we hold that, we're going to try to rebound, but look for a little dip towards 175 is the most likely possibility because the 4 hour is starting to contract even more. For ARM is also starting to dip just a bit. We're going to be looking at a test of about 176. I'll be watching to see if we get a bounce off that or not. If we lose 176, we're dipping down to 168. So look for a little bit of a dip and see what kind of reaction we get. For Coinbase, we have a head and shoulders like structure that's kind of developing right here. But let me just call out that it also depends on how we end up reacting relative to this trend line. In my personal opinion, I'm not too solely worried about the head and shoulders. We tried to break out. We kind of rejected off the trend line, so we're just trading sideways. I think we're going to be range bound tomorrow between 222 and 220, or I'm sorry, 218. So we're going to likely just trade sideways. That's the most likely possibility. That's what I favor. For Amazon, we have a bullish wedge forming, so this favors upside as a stronger possibility. But we want to break past 200 for confirmation. If that breaks, we're used to going to 202 and 205. If we lose 198.6 and 197.5, that those supports, look for a dip all the way down to 195. Overall, the pattern looks more bullish, so it favors upside. So that's looking a bit more probable to me. For Meta might dip towards 525. If we touch this, I think 527 to 525 is going to be touched. If we touch it, look and see if we get a bounce back up to 535, or if we lose that, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 520. Watch and see a little dip and see if we get a bounce or not from there. For Microsoft, we're kind of dipping a little bit. We'll be looking at this 460 area as our support. If we bounce off this, we'll be looking at 461 for a little rebound. And if we lose that, we're going to be dipping even lower. This is where we have previous resistance becoming support. So I think Microsoft is going to likely try to rebound a little bit, retest 461.79. And if we reject, look for that bigger move down. If we break through 461.7, then we could be pushing back up. So I'll be looking for that test tomorrow. Otherwise, we're just kind of stuck for now. Google's also kind of trading sideways around this 190 area. If we lose this, look for 188. If we break through this, look at 192. We're still stuck in the middle, not really doing a whole lot. For GameStop, we're trying to push a little bit higher. If we break past 25, look for a bigger push towards 25.8. If you reject, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 23. I think that as of right now, we're consolidating, not really doing a whole lot. So I'm not really expecting much from it. So it doesn't really worry me too much. For AMC, we're kind of trading sideways within a range. We're going to be looking at this 5.4 area. Might go a little higher to 5.5, but I'm still seeing lots of shuffling. The pattern is a little bit more bullish thanks to the inverse head and shoulders, so it favors upside a bit more. But I think we're going to consolidate a bit before we get some kind of break. Now, I wanted to call out to DJT. If we lose 29, look for 27. If we break past 31, look for 33. Those are going to be your levels. As of right now, we're trading sideways, so I think we're going to continue to consolidate tomorrow depending on what Jerome Powell says, and a big reaction will come by CPI day, in my personal opinion. The VIX is also trading sideways. If we lose support at 12.4, we'll be looking for a bigger dip. If we break resistance, we're going to be looking for a big push. I think the VIX is not really doing a whole lot right now, so it's kind of suggesting the market has nice momentum so far. So the VIX is not giving us much yet. We're waiting to see a big move possibly after CPI, so we'll just have to wait and see. The 10-year is trading sideways, not really doing much for now because of Jerome Powell. He didn't really say much. It is a little bit in the green, but like I said before, not doing much. So because of this head and shoulders, if this kind of pops and rejects, this could suggest the market may dip a bit and try to bounce. So it's still holding the same thing. And then the dollar is also trying to push a little higher. So this may suggest the market may dip a little bit. Then the dollar hits the 200 EMA at 105.25, then rejects. If the dollar kind of pops and then rejects, this suggests that the market may dip and then start running all over again. So that suggests there might be a little dip coming before more upside for the market later on. Like I said before, the trend on the market is still bullish, but there could be a temporary move of consolidation, maybe a little bit of downside, at least for now, depending on how things go. So the big factor for the markets, let me make this very clear, it's not Jerome Powell unless he says something very significant, which I highly doubt. I feel like the market's going to likely see a lot of consolidation tomorrow, maybe a small dip, and then possibly a bounce at the end of the day, depending on what the anticipation is of CPI. So not really much tomorrow is coming. But the real move is going to come depending on CPI on Thursday. It's going to be very, very big. And then on Friday, we have the big bank earnings and PPI. So Friday is going to be a big day too. So tomorrow is going to be likely a consolidation quiet day. And the real volatility, the real big move is going to come on Thursday/Friday. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Tesla is still bullish from a technical standpoint. Look for a big test of 265, see if Tesla breaks that or not going into tomorrow. And nonetheless, I do think that Tesla has a lot more upside anyway. So even if we fail to break 265 initially and consolidate, there's still upside potential later on down the line. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a great evening, have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow before the market opens. Thanks again. It tells us to the moon because the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.